One nation under God. One God. One nation. In 1954, President Dwight D. Eisenhower maintained that including the words "one nation under God" in the Pledge of Allegiance would strengthen, he said, those spiritual weapons which forever will be our country's most powerful resource. Without our swearing allegiance to religion, the Reverend George M. Dougherty had suggested to Eisenhower, little Muscovites, all of them godless communists, could easily be reciting the very same loyalty oath. That religion and government, religious fundamentalists and religious liberals, or even an older and a younger generation, did and would vie with one another was not news. But in 1925, their antagonism possessed a force and a focus that surprised even the journalists who rented rooms in the small Tennessee town hoping for a scoop. After all, two gladiators, the ubiquitous politician William Jennings Bryan and the criminal lawyer Clarence Darrow, each of them national celebrities for decades, were going into battle over God and science and the classroom, and, not incidentally, over what it meant to be an American. For just a few months before the trial began, the Tennessee legislature had passed a law known as the Butler Act that forbade the teaching of any theory that denies the story of the divine creation of man as taught in the Bible, and to teach instead that man has descended from a lower order of animals. The fledgling American Civil Liberties Union, an organization that promised to protect the constitutional rights of citizens, claimed that the Butler Act violated the First Amendment's guarantee of religious liberty. It flouted the First Amendment's prohibition against establishing a state religion. And the Butler Act denied the right of professionals, educators, to decide for themselves, as professionals, what they should be teaching. When the ACLU offered to defend anyone willing to test that Tennessee law by breaking it, John Scopes stepped up. Ordinarily shy, this unpretentious 24-year-old admitted that not only had he taught evolution, you can't teach biology without it. And in any case, the textbook that he'd used in his biology class, a textbook that the state of Tennessee had authorized, mentioned evolution only in a few pages. It said nothing about divine creation or the Bible. It had merely said that evolution was change. That was it. Young Scopes was immediately indicted for violating the Butler Act. The trial date was set for the summer of 1925. Then the commotion began. Soon it seemed every automobile in the country, every itinerant preacher, and every snake oil salesman was headed for Dayton, Tennessee. This trial was bound to take place somewhere, a Dayton resident philosophically observed. It's an issue that is coming up everywhere in the United States. As he suspected, the issue had nothing to do with whether John Scopes had broken the law. No one disputed that, not even Scopes himself. And the issue wasn't about the theory of evolution, per se. Very few people reading or writing about the Scopes trial, or even those directly involved in it, understood how evolution occurred, or even how to define it. So something greater was at stake than whether a young schoolteacher had taught from an authorized textbook that mentioned evolution. To the celebrated criminal lawyer and self-described agnostic Clarence Darrow, who volunteered to defend Scopes, the Tennessee law raised issues that went to the heart of democracy. It asked who controlled how Americans could be educated, and where, and with what means, and what limitations on freedom could be or should be placed on the freedom to learn, to teach, to think, or to worship. None, he said. Agreeing with him were the other members of the defense team, the Irish Catholic Dudley Field Malone, and Arthur Garfield Hayes, a secular Jew, who were both from New York. They were joined by the local Tennessee lawyer John Randolph Neal, the son of a colonel in the Confederate Army. But to William Jennings Bryan, a figure as recognizable as Darrow and as irrepressible, the issue was faith. The issue was God. A three-time presidential nominee and crusading leader of the Democratic Party, Bryan arrived in Dayton intending to save men and women, and children most especially, from the warped ideas that would turn them into atheists. Though he knew little about science and even less about evolution, Bryan intuited with stunning accuracy the frustration and anger and anxiety of the people he represented and claimed to speak for, particularly the religious fundamentalists. Confident of his mission and sure of himself, he trusted that he could